Imagine being so famous that you are married to a prince. Imagine living in a palace where money seems like it never runs out. Now, imagine a fashion brand that dresses queens and movie stars telling you, no. This recently happened to Meghan Markle. The famous fashion house Dior reportedly put her on a blacklist. This means they do not want to work with her. They do not want to dress her. They do not want to be connected to her. For a brand like Dior, refusing a royal duchess is almost unheard of. Usually, brands beg famous people to wear their clothes. So why did they say no? The answer isn't about money. It isn't about politics. It is about a secret that has been hidden in the fashion world for years. It is a story about missing dresses, lost shoes, and a habit that shocked the royal family. It turns out, when Meghan walks into a room, she looks beautiful. But when she leaves, sometimes things go missing. This is the story of the clothes that never came back. Meghan Markle has just been blocked. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't a mistake. It was a choice. The brand is Dior. They are one of the most famous and expensive fashion companies in the world. They have made clothes for legends like Princess Diana and huge movie stars. Usually, if a duchess wants a dress, the answer is yes, of course. But with Meghan, the answer was different. People who work inside the fashion world said they weren't surprised. They knew this was coming. Why? Because insiders say Dior didn't want the drama. They didn't want the confusion. And most of all, they didn't want the risk. You see, wherever Meghan went, strange stories seemed to follow her. These weren't stories about her acting or her speeches. These were quiet whispers about clothes. There were stories about gowns that vanished. There were stories about bills that never got paid. There were stories about photo shoots where more items left the building than arrived. For a long time, people thought these were just silly rumors. They thought people were just being mean to Meghan. Some people said the stories were exaggerated. But then, something happened that proved the rumors might be true. It was something small, but it was loud enough to wake up the entire industry. It was about a dress, a simple green dress. It disappeared when the cameras stopped taking pictures. No one knew where it went. Then, years later, it reappeared on Meghan's body. Suddenly, the world wanted to know the truth. Who else felt the same way Dior did? Why did a single dress cause so much trouble? To understand this, we have to travel back in time. We need to go back to where the trail first started. The story begins with a picture. It was a beautiful, shiny photograph of Meghan Markle. This was before she left the royal family. She was posing for a magazine called Variety. In the photo, she looked perfect. She was wearing a soft, green designer dress. To the public, it looked like a normal celebrity photo. But to the people working on the shoot, something was wrong. When you do a photo shoot for a magazine, the clothes do not belong to the star. The clothes are loaned. This means the designer lends them to the magazine for one day. The star wears them, the pictures are taken, and then the clothes are packed up and sent back to the designer. That is how it always works. The star does not get to keep the dress unless they pay for it or unless it is a specific gift. According to the fashion house that made the green dress, Meghan was not given the gown as a gift. It wasn't part of a deal where she got to keep it. It was a loan, just a normal standard loan. But when the photo shoot was over, the team started packing up. They put away the lights, they put away the cameras, but when they looked for the green dress, it was gone. There was no paperwork saying Meghan bought it. There was no note asking to keep it. There was no explanation. The dress had simply vanished. The people in charge were confused. Where did it go? Did someone steal it? Did it get lost in the mail? For a long time, nobody knew. The story might have stayed a secret forever, but Meghan made a mistake. 3 years later, Meghan appeared in public. She was at an event, smiling and waving. And what was she wearing? She was wearing that exact same green dress. When photos of her hit the internet, the fashion world gasped. Designers, stylists, and wardrobe helpers all saw it. That second appearance was the spark that lit the fire. It proved that the dress hadn't been lost. It hadn't been thrown away. It had been in Meghan's closet the whole time. Everyone suddenly remembered the whispers. Everyone remembered the warnings. They realized this wasn't just a one-time accident. According to insiders, this was her signature move. When that dress appeared on Meghan's body, it felt like the universe was handing the fashion world a receipt. It was proof. It was the kind of proof you cannot ignore. It made people say, okay, now we need to talk about everything else. And when people started talking, the quiet rumors became loud conversations. Was Meghan Markle walking away with designer pieces again and again without permission? The fashion world didn't stop at whispers. They started looking at old memories. They looked at old stories and old experiences. They realized the problem went much deeper than a single green dress. When the green dress showed up again, designers weren't shocked. They were just tired. They recognized the pattern. For years, stylists had been quietly avoiding Meghan. A stylist is a person whose job is to find clothes for stars. But when Meghan's team called, many stylists said they were busy or they didn't have anything available. Assistant designers said they never sent their lookbooks to her team. A lookbook is a catalog of new clothes. Usually, designers want stars to see their clothes, but with Meghan, they hid them. Brand managers reportedly ignored requests coming from her camp. It wasn't personal, they didn't hate her. It was protective, they were protecting their business. A pattern had formed. If Meghan wore something, the designer might never see it again. And then came Dior. Dior is one of the most iconic brands in history. They dress royalty without even thinking about it. But insiders claim Dior decided no more. They had seen enough. They looked at the behavior around borrowed items. They heard the stories from other labels. They saw the unpredictability. They saw the risk. Above all, they had an undeniable feeling that lending Meghan a simple dress could turn into a complicated mess. When a fashion house like Dior pulls away, they don't hold a press conference. They don't yell or scream. It is silent, it is final, and everyone in the industry hears the silence loud and clear. Now this is where the story gets really interesting. We need to go back even further. Before she was a royal, before she had titles, and before she had palace money, Meghan lived in Toronto. She was an actress on a TV show called Suits. One day, she was hired to do a commercial for a clothing store called Reappearing. It was a simple job. There was a clothing rack on the set filled with outfits. According to the staff who worked on that commercial, Meghan walked in looking confident. She was charming. She was ready to work. Everyone thought it would be a great day. But when the shoot ended, something wasn't right. The wardrobe coordinator started counting the items. The coordinator is the person responsible for every shoe, shirt, and dress. A pair of expensive shoes was missing. They were Aquazzura, very Matilda heels. These are very fancy shoes. Also, a whole bundle of clothes had quietly disappeared. When the wardrobe coordinator noticed, she didn't panic right away. She thought, mistakes happen. Sometimes items get put in the wrong bag. Sometimes assistants forget to return things. It's normal on a busy set. But months later, something happened that made the coordinator's jaw drop. Meghan announced her engagement to Prince Harry. It was a huge moment. The whole world was watching. And in the photos from that day, look at her feet. Meghan was wearing those exact Aquazzura shoes. The puzzle pieces snapped together. The missing shoes weren't misplaced. They hadn't fallen behind a couch. They had been taken. When people asked about them, Meghan allegedly gave a simple explanation. She didn't deny having them. She reportedly said she took them because she didn't want the items she had worn to end up on eBay. She said she was too famous for that. She thought if she returned them, someone would sell them online because she had touched them. But fashion insiders were confused. If she didn't want them sold, why didn't she just ask for them? Or better yet, why not pay for them? She was a successful actress. She had money. Why take them without asking? The Reappearing incident became a warning. In the industry, stylists talked to each other. They passed a quiet message from person to person. Be careful, things go missing around her. And just like that, the very first crack in Meghan's fashion reputation was born. When Meghan married Prince Harry, she moved into Kensington Palace. She wasn't just entering a new house, she was entering a new world. The royal family is built on rules. These are old rules, strict rules, rules that every royal woman before her had followed without question. One of the biggest rules is about gifts. The royal family does not accept freebies. They do not take free clothes. They do not take free jewelry. They do not take free handbags. Why? Because it looks bad. It looks like they are being bribed. It looks cheap. The rule is simple. Everything must be bought. Everything must be written down. Everything must be accounted for. It is a system designed to prevent scandals. But insiders say Meghan arrived with a Hollywood mindset. In Hollywood, things are different. In Hollywood, if you are famous, people give you free things all the time. If a designer offers a dress, it is a perk of the job. If a brand wants you to wear their clothes, you think you are doing them a favor by being seen in them. But that is not how royalty works. Within weeks of moving in, sources said Meghan began requesting designer gifts. This was completely against the rules. When the palace staff reminded her of the rules, she did not take it well. According to insiders, she pushed back, she insisted, she argued, she believed exceptions should be made for her. She thought, I am famous, so I should get these things. This was the moment the palace aides realized something uncomfortable. This wasn't just a misunderstanding. This was a pattern. Clothes were not returning to designers. Borrowed pieces were not being accounted for. Meghan was making requests that the palace physically could not allow. Some staff tried to explain patiently. They said, "Ma'am, no member of the royal family accepts gifted clothing. It just isn't done." But Meghan, according to word from the inside, saw these rules as old-fashioned. She saw them as barriers. She thought they shouldn't apply to someone with her background. She thought she knew better than the people who had been running the palace for decades. This was the moment the palace began to brace itself. They knew trouble was coming, but they didn't expect how quickly the wardrobe issue would grow. If Toronto was the beginning, and the green dress was the proof, Kensington Palace was where everything exploded. When Meghan officially became a working royal, Prince Charles, who is now the king, had a job to do. It was his responsibility to pay for the wardrobes of his sons' wives. He paid for Camilla's clothes, Catherine's clothes, and now Meghan's clothes. This was a long-standing system. It was logical. The women were working for the crown, so the crown paid for their work clothes. But when the bills started coming in, Charles was shocked. According to financial records and insider accounts, Meghan's spending went through the roof. Let's compare the numbers so you can see how crazy it was. Princess Catherine Kate Middleton is the future queen. She goes to many events. She travels the world. For a full year of work, Catherine spent around £100,000 on clothes. That is a lot of money, but she rewears her clothes many times. She is very careful. Now look at Meghan. In her first year, she had fewer events than Catherine. She had less work to do, but her wardrobe spending approached £1 million. That is nearly 10 times what Catherine spent, 10 times. Insiders say Charles was both shocked and concerned. It wasn't because he was poor. He had the money. He was worried about what the spending meant. Why were so many items needed? Why were so many pieces never worn again? Why were some designers calling the palace asking when their items would be returned? Something wasn't adding up. Sources say Charles decided it was time to talk. He didn't want to fight. He wanted to have a gentle conversation. He wanted to explain royal protocol. He wanted to explain that they needed to be careful with money so the public didn't get angry. But according to staff who saw what happened, the talk did not go well. Meghan did not appreciate being corrected. She reportedly felt targeted. She felt controlled. She felt misunderstood. What Charles hoped would be a gentle reset became a fight. It caused a crack in the relationship. Behind closed doors, the staff whispered that Meghan did not like being told no. Every time someone tried to guide her, she put up a wall. The relationship between her and the institution grew colder. By this point in the story, everyone asks the same question. Meghan is rich. She lives in a $15 million mansion. She has million-dollar deals with Netflix. Why would she take clothes? Why not just buy them? It is a very fair question. Most people think that if you have money, you stop taking things for free. But insiders who have watched this pattern closely offer a simple explanation. They say it has nothing to do with money. It isn't about being able to afford the clothes. It is about entitlement. Entitlement is a feeling that you deserve things just because of who you are. Hollywood insiders say Meghan carried herself like someone who believed she was the payment. She thought, if I wear this dress, I am making it famous. Therefore, I should get to keep it. She believed that wearing a designer's piece was a form of payment. She thought her image was so valuable that the normal rules of buying and selling didn't apply to her. In the celebrity world, this sometimes happens, but inside the royal family, this mindset crashed into reality. The royal family serves the people. They are not celebrities, they are public servants. They are supposed to be humble. They are supposed to follow the rules more strictly than anyone else. When Meghan's Hollywood mindset met the royal rules, it caused a disaster. Inside the fashion world, it ruined relationships. Designers felt used. Inside Kensington Palace, it crossed personal boundaries. The staff felt ignored. The issue wasn't financial, it was behavioral. Once people realized that, they stopped trying to make sense of the money. They realized that for Meghan, the clothes were a symbol. Keeping them proved she was special. Keeping them proved she was above the rules. Now the doors at Dior are closed. The stylists are busy. The lookbooks are hidden away. The green dress that vanished and reappeared told the world a story. The missing shoes from Toronto gave us a warning. And the $1 million wardrobe bill showed us the scale of the problem. Meghan Markle wanted to be a modern princess. She wanted to change the world. But in the process, she forgot a very simple lesson that most fifth graders know. If you borrow something, you have to give it back. The cracks in her reputation didn't start with a big interview or a documentary. They started in a dressing room, with a dress that was slipped into a bag when no one was looking. And now, the fashion world has sent its message. You can have the title, and you can have the mansion, but you cannot have our clothes.